Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be watching this broadcast from wherever you are this Sunday morning, November 29th. Let's see, I'm here, you're here, so let me get this show on the road. There we are. Alrighty, good morning. So today we are going to, and give me a shout out if you can hear me. Okay, there we go. Alrighty. So, yes, as Alice just commented, she is looking forward to the big finish and the finishing techniques, and I have a whole array of stuff. My bench looks a little messy, so I'm sorry about that. But what can you do? It's a space where I work and film and demo and all of that stuff. So we've got it all going on right here this morning. Um, so we are going to play around with a few finishing techniques. I know I promised you that I would have my piece finished, but it's not. But we're going to bring it to a close anyway because we've got to move on. But I wanted to share a whole bunch of stuff that I've got going on here for you. And then we're just gonna jump in and work through it. So let me go ahead and I'm gonna add this camera. I'm gonna switch cameras here, so bear with me here. And we'll put that one over there. There we are. And let's bring it over here so we can see our piece. I got my piece cleaned up, mostly cleaned up from last week. But of course, it's been a busy week, so I didn't get much further. But you know what? We're going to go ahead and patina and do some finishing techniques for you here. And then we're going to close this one up and we'll start something new coming up. So I wanted to show you, oh, it's great to have everybody here. It's great that everybody's here. And I love that you are giving this the good old thumbs up and the good old, the shares and the likes and all that kind of stuff, because I really appreciate that. That helps other people find this broadcast, which is great. I'm just going to solo this one here. You don't need to see me at the moment. You can see my shadow right here, though. But I wanted to share, this is a kit that you can grab from Pepe Tools, our buddy over at Pepe. And it's a great one for finishing. And you've seen me use these before, but we're going to kind of use these for some finishing techniques, some getting rid of some of that solder and stuff on those jump rings before we actually do some patinas. And then I've got a whole bunch of other stuff here that I'm going to look. Oh, and my dear Mama is here. Good morning, Ma. Good to see you. And happy after Thanksgiving to everybody as well. I hope everyone had a nice, if you celebrate a nice Thanksgiving holiday. So it was restful over here in my neck of the woods. So these are, and you've seen me use these before, but these are Radial Discs. And they come in a kit like this from my buddies over at Pepe Tools. And they're a nice assortment of finishing wheels, little finishing pins like this, little finishing points, all of those little items. The pins go in these little adapters like this. And so I'll show you, I'm going to just put a few on here. And they come in a variety of grits, from the yellow, which is the coarsest, all the way down to this mint green, which is the lightest grit. So I'm going to focus on these two. These are the ones that I use a lot of, that red and that blue. And I'm going to grab one of these polishing pins too. Let me see if I can get They have a couple of different sizes here. You can see this one's a little bit of a bigger diameter. And then I'm going to put this one, whoops, well, that one escaped. Let me get a finishing pin. I'm actually going to get a yellow one, a little yellow one, and I'm going to show you how these work, because these I think are ones that you don't see quite as often. Okay, and Linda's asking, Kate, how do you use a finishing pin? Well, that is exactly what I'm going to show you right now. I don't know where that other one went. It may be lost to the ages, but this is the coarsest one. And do I have an order number? You know, I don't, but if you go to Pepe Tools and you put in this DD Co., and this is their big assortment. I'm sorry, I don't. If I have a second, I can pop over there to the Pepe Tools website. But this is, I think this is the deluxe kit. The one, yes, it's the all-in-one. Oh, there's the number. See that right there? Number 1208, all-in-one deluxe assortment. Okay. So hopefully that'll help. So now, let me show you. Let me get this down a little bit more. So these finishing pins, this is small. I'll measure it for you. Let me clear this off. In millimeters, right? It's not even 2 millimeters across, so it's tiny. The bigger one is a little bit bigger. It's about 3 millimeters, a little over 2.5. Okay, so these are really handy when you need to slide them in, like these rings. You remember these from last week, right? I haven't cleaned any of the solder off. I've pickled them, so they're clean, but that's about all that's happened with these. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that little chuck there in that adapter. Open it wide enough to stick that pin in. And I don't know, I leave some protruding. As it kind of gets used up, I can pull it out further and further, because they're about, I'll measure it, they're just under an inch, about 15/16 of an inch really is what these are, just under. So I'm going to put this in, and then I'll tighten this up. It winds up here, okay, like this. And you want to make sure it's nice and tight like that. Okay, that one and that one there. Let me get the camera a little bit closer so you can see it. This is a good time if you want to take a quick screenshot of that, you can. So like I said, the yellow one is the coarsest. And like everything we do with a polishing tool or a sanding tool or something like that, you got to let the tool do the work. Okay, especially with these radial wheels and these pins and stuff like this, right? You don't want to force it. So let me pull this up. I'm just going to use, we've been using this all along, the Dremel, the Micro Dremel that has the light, the universal chuck that I have here on the end. Okay, I could of course use my, oops, where did that go? I'm going to pull this out. I could of course use my flex shaft, right? But I don't have to use it. You know, this Dremel will be good. If I can get this this mandrel out of here. My mom says me and my tools always remind her of going to the dentist. It's true, they're very similar. Let me pull this up a little bit. See the jaws of my chuck? I'm really hanging on to that mandrel, so I'm going to push those little teeth down. There we go. Now it comes out. So I want to make sure that those little fingers are nice and even in that universal chuck. I'll put it back on. And as I close it, okay. Oh, good. And what Linda's saying, oh, I'm going to put that one on the screen because that makes me happy. Here we go. I took an online class and the instructor had these pins on the supply list but never showed how and when to use them, so they've been sitting on a drawer. Great. Well, no more. You know, this is going to be, these will be good friends for you. let's close this up, tighten it up just a little bit, see how I have to put my thumb on the stopper there. And as it tightens up, sorry, I'm blocking that for the moment. I just want to adjust it and then I'll tighten it up the rest of the way. I have a little bit of the mandrel showing there. Whoops, that isn't very tight, is it? I'm going to pull it out of camera range just for a second so I can really get it up next to me and tighten it up. There we go. And see that? That's nice and tight now. Okay. So I like using these pins on the inside of those links because the links are small. Let me see if I can find my ring clamp. I didn't want to prepare for this very well. Where's my clamp? I know I have it here because it's something I use all the time. You don't have to have a clamp or a holder, but it can be helpful. It can be especially helpful if you can find it. I have 1,000,001 clamps hanging around, but oh, maybe I'll use this one. This isn't a ring clamp, but it's a clamp. It's probably sitting right in front of me and I just can't find it. I love old tools, so this is just an old clamp that I have, so I'm going to lift this up. A ring clamp might be a little bit easier to use, but again, I don't see it here. Isn't that the way when you're working and you can't quite find? My ring clamp has a little bit of leather on the inside. This has metal, but it'll be fine. I'm going to come in. I'm going to clamp that ring down in there so I can get it, so I don't have to hold it in my fingers. You can also use, whatever clamps you have will work, but I like old tools, so this isn't just an old, I don't know what this is. I found this years. I always haunt places, like flea markets and stuff, back when we could do that, but we'll be able to do it again soon. I hope, right? Go and find those old vintage tools. Let me get a little closer here. So this pin, before I turn on the Dremel, you can see will go right inside there really nicely, right? It'll fit nicely in there. The wider one also will work, but since this is kind of narrow, I thought I'd use this one. So let me go ahead and turn on the Dremel. And don't worry, it's not going super fast, so don't worry. You want to make sure though that you're wearing eye protection for this, right? Because it is a rotary tool. And I'm just going to come in and I'm going to let the grit of that pin clean everything up. Then I'll flip it. I also like to use things like this for ring bands to soften the edge. Let me see if I can get that into view there. I've got that little bit of solder. And I'm just going to lay the edge of that there. Now what you can also do with these pins to prep them is you can run it. Let me get my bench block here. You can run it on a piece of, if you don't want it squared off at the tip, you can kind of run it on a piece of coarse sandpaper to kind of make the point a little more narrow if you want. You can see that's kind of narrowed this point down. You can't really, but you can do that. Okay. So just kind of, narrow that down. I do that with like my other little knife-edged pieces, stuff like that. You can always, clean them up. Oh, there's my friend Angela. Hi, Angela. So I'm just going to come in and see with that little point, I can really get in there and clean that solder away. Okay. So you'd play around with that, right? So I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to take this out. And now let me get some radial discs. Get this guy out of there. Come on. My friend Angela's watching from, she no longer lives in our hometown of Gilroy, but you can take the girl out of Gilroy, but you can't take Gilroy out of the girl. Right, Super G? It's true. My mom says the same thing. Alrighty, I'm going to come in. There's still a little bit of solder and stuff there, so we're going to turn this radial disc on, and you can see those little fingers just come in, clean that business up. And so I'm going to take this out of the clamp because it's a little hard for me to get it under the camera with the clamp, so you guys are just going to, I'm going to have to just be careful with my fingers. See how my hands are always touching? So it helps me to steady. And I'm using this blue one as more of a polisher, but it also will help to refine your links. Okay. Cordless Dremel. Yeah, this is the Dremel Micro. And you can see when I run it, let me turn it on. I'm running it about medium speed there. And what I really like about this one is it has a light. See that when I turn it on? I use these a lot when I was going to classes, right? When you have to pack up your tools, take them on the road, and students don't always have access to electrical outlets, right? When we're teaching, so this is good. And I just have them. What I do is first thing when I get into my classroom, I plug in all of the little rests, the little chargers, make sure that everything's charged. And during the day, as people use them, they go right back into the charger. So they don't really run out of juice. I like them a lot. I don't know, they retail for somewhere in the range of $70 or $80. They're not that expensive. But again, if you've got a small space, working in a small space, this is a nice one. So you can see that's how I would use these guys and how I would use these pins. This is also a good one. Again, you've seen me clean up this guy. But you don't want to, these little fingers, you want to be careful not to push them too far down into your metal because it will leave a pattern, right? Because they are abrasives. So you want to be nice and gentle when you do this. Okay, you can see it's bringing up a nice shine like that. So here's the order of operations that I'd work on this. So you are kind of clear on how that would go. Let me move this around. Let me move this over. And so I can kind of see you right here. Okay, so the order of operations for something like this would be, we solder our piece, right? We put all of our links together, we pickle it so it's clean, we file everything so it's nice and neat and clean and stuff, right? Then what I like to do with these objects is, before I patina and everything, what I like doing is I like to toss them in the tumbler for finishing. Now, some of you may be familiar, especially if I'm working on things that are, you know, when I'm production lining or need to streamline my workflow. This is a tumbling medium called Hone and Highlight, H-O-N-E, Hone and Highlight. Okay. So this is, it's kind of like a little rock, all right, like a little mini mountain here. And what this does is it, what do I want to say? How do I want to say this? It kind of smooths everything down, right? It's a coarse tumbling medium. So let's say that, like for instance here, let me show you this. I'm working on some pieces now for my line that things are going to drop actually later this week. And I'm making some pendants, right? Little shield pendants. And what I've done is I've cut this out in my hydraulic press, and you can see the edge is a little rough, right? So what I do is when I mass produce these, right, I cut all of these. Like I'll cut 20 of these out in my press with my pancake die. Then what I'll do is I'll take it over actually to my jewel tool, and I will file off. I'll just go zip, file that little tab off right there. Then I'll toss all of these in hone and highlight. Okay. What the hone and highlight does is, as it's in the tumbler, it burnishes down those edges. So it does that finishing step for me. So, you know, when I zip this on my jewel tool, right, I'll just turn it, I'll zip it here, I'll go here, boom, right up against the wheel's here. And, you know, I'll kind of do a little bit here. Then I'll throw them all in my hone and highlight. And then I'll tumble them. I don't know, I'll check them after about an hour, maybe. And let me see. I don't have one. I might have one that's been tumbled. I think I've got some over here. So once my pieces, though it's different, it's not that same shape. But once it comes out of the hone and highlight, and also if I'm going to stamp it or anything with my maker's mark, I'll do that also before it goes into the hone and highlight, right? So it'll come out from the tumbler, and you can see these edges are really nice and soft, not so soft that it's losing detail, but this saves me a huge step, right? And these are just kind of fun pendants and pins and things that I make. And so once it's gone in that hone and highlight, then I'll go to the next step. I could continue with a little bit of hand burnishing or polishing if I need to. I'll lay my things out, I'll do my soldering, stuff like that. But this is such a time saver, right? What I also probably would do with all of these component parts, it just lays in a nice base for all of this stuff, okay? So I would probably toss all of this into the hone and highlight for about an hour. If you really want it mattified and you really need to like take care of a lot of burrs and stuff, you can leave it in longer. But I go for about an hour, and then I take a look and see what it looks like. Okay, so then once and I think this actually did go through the hone and highlight. I think. I can't remember. The journey with this piece has been so long. Then, so Judy's asking, and it's a great follow-up question, Judy, is it better than shot? So it's different, okay? So I will throw like component parts in here to finish them, and then I could also throw the finished piece in here to finish the whole thing. And then what I do is I can finish it in the tumbler with some stainless steel shot, and this will burnish and polish things, okay? And I just have a mixed bunch of stainless steel shot pins and little rounds and the little kind of cut off tubes, or not tubes, but little cut off logs, I guess here, whatever. They're all, you know, they all tumble and burnish. So this is my final step. And once, so I know what you're thinking, is it the final step before you patina or after the patina? So, and yeah, I do use a rotary tumbler, and I have the barrel right here, just my Loratone tumbler, right? Here's my Loratone, and I have two barrels, one for the hone and highlight, one for the stainless steel shot. And so, yeah, that's what I use. And this hone and highlight, it's meant to be used in the rotary. So let's say that I have, you know, tumbled my component parts. I've kind of taken down the little edges. I've made my piece, all of that good stuff. Okay. Then this piece is ready to patina. So, and then it'll return into the hone and highlight. And then I may finish it up to to burnish it in the stainless steel shot. The Hone and Highlight removes some of the patina, which is great. So what I do with these pieces, something like this, is I'll patina it, then I'll throw it in, I'll tumble it until as much of the patina is removed as I want it to be. Then I could do a little bit more of hand removing if I want. Then I'll throw it in the stainless steel shot for a final burnish. I'll do it as little as 10 minutes or as much as 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how much shine I want. But this coarse grit will remove the patina. The burnisher will not remove patina. It will just polish the metal because they're smooth, right? They bump up against your metal, so it's smooth against smooth, so it burnishes. Okay? But this is smooth piece against rough medium. This will remove the patina. Okay? And so here's a good question. Do you have to have 2 tumblers for the Hone and Highlight, or is it just for ease? So since this Hone and Highlight is coarse, what I would do is, because it may leave a bit of a residue in between, but I'll be honest, I used the same tumbler for a while until I unearthed my second tumbler. When I moved studios, I had my second one just put away. And so you can also buy replacement tumbler barrels for these, right? So I do have 2, but if you only have 1, I would really clean it well and maybe even get like a scrubby sponge or something to scrub it out to make sure there's no Hone and Highlight residue left when you switch over to your stainless steel shot. Okay, so let's talk, let me get this out of the way. Let's talk about patinas for this, okay? So let's say that I finished my piece here and it's ready for antiquing. I'll get those out of the way. And you know, I'm actually not going to use it on these guys here. I have a couple of pieces of just tester metal so you can really see it. Okay, so what I'll do, this is just some pattern metal that I have. I have my, let me get my Dremel out of the way here, put it back on its little stand. I have several different patinas here that I want to share with you. And we've got your friend and mine, the liver of sulfur gel. And this is also when I put on my gloves. Let me grab them. Since we're working with patinas, you want to make sure that when you're doing this in real life, that you are working in a well-ventilated area, right? You're wearing gloves. I'm going to get a little more hot water in this while I'm talking to you. You're wearing gloves, you're wearing eye protection, because, you know, the patinas can be caustic, so you want to be very careful with them. Well-ventilated area is one of the most important aspects of this, because the liver of sulfur especially can be a little stinky. Okay, let me put that there. So let me get my gloves on. And we're going to use a couple of different patinas today. We're going to use the liver of sulfur gel, and I also have some black max. It also is known by silver black is another name for it, right? There's also one by Jax. It's another silver blackener, but they all work pretty much the same. Okay, you really do. This is the silver black contains hydrochloric acid, so it is very caustic. You don't want to get it on your hands or in your eyes, right? That's really important. So, and it's liquid, so it can be splashy. So you need to be careful when you're using it. I also brought, and this is something I also have in my collection here of patinas, it's gun bluing. And this is darkening patina solution for steel. And I know a lot of us are playing around with steel and playing around with different ways of creating, using steel wire, stuff like that. But also tool makers, when you make a tool or whatever, right? And after you anneal it, you can use the gun blue to darken the metal here, bring it kind of a nice dark patina to steel, and then you'd polish up the high parts. Same thing with your jewelry. So if you're doing any kind of steel jewelry work, this perma blue gun bluing works really nicely. Again, corrosive, completely corrosive. Use it in a well-ventilated area and all that good stuff. But this is great. I don't use it often because I don't use steel that often, but it's a nice thing to kind of know about. Okay? And again, if you make any tools, like I think I've got a stamp over here. Well, I made this guy. I made this little scribe out of a piece of steel stock. And when you anneal it and stuff and polish, this actually needs to be dipped in the gun bluing to darken it back up. And then I can repolish it. It just, when you make handmade tools and stuff, it's kind of nice to finish them off nicely. But this was a fun little scribe that I made. So anyway, that's how you would patina on steel. So, okay, let's look at the liver of sulfur first. Okay, now the thing with liver of sulfur, when you're patinaing copper, copper is really sensitive to patinas when you antique them. And I don't know if you've had this happen. This is the liver of sulfur gel. So I have just a little disposable hot water container here. And I'm just going to put in like a few drops, not that much, because I don't want to have to dispose of a whole bunch of it. And I'm going to stir it up here. And the thing about liver of sulfur and copper is if you immerse your piece in for a long time, the patina won't stick. And I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm going to just go ahead and toss that one in. And the water is hot. It's probably not quite as hot as it could be. But you can see it's going to turn pretty quickly. You can kind of move it around, agitate it a little bit to get some more your blackening in there. You also want to make sure what I do and what I didn't do with these pieces, so you can see that it is kind of antiquing not uniformly. On this surface of the metal, there may have been some oils, finger oils or something like that on there. So what I do is before I drop my pieces in the patina, I have a brush, like a nail brush, and I use some Dawn dishwashing liquid, and I just suds my pieces up, scrub, scrub, scrub under running water. And then I put them on a paper towel so they're nice and pristine. Okay. So once this is dipped, see that there's a little stubborn place right there. And if I run my fingers over it, you can see that the patina is sticking pretty well to this. It's adhering pretty well to the surface of the metal. But if I leave it in there for a while, the patina will kind of get built up, and you may have some instances of where the patina starts to flake off. So you don't want to drop your copper in there and then leave it forever. Okay? You want to just pay attention to what you've got going on. So now what I do is I have a little bath with some water and some baking soda, and I'm just going to move it around in there to really make sure that the patina, that the liver of sulfur is removed. And then I'll dip my other fingers in there like a finger bowl. And then I'll rinse it underwater. Okay, so that's the liver of sulfur. Now you can also use silver black, okay, for copper. And you can also use liver of sulfur for sterling, for silver. Silver takes a little bit longer with the liver of sulfur, and your liver of sulfur isn't as super black as you might be looking for. It has a little bit of a softer look to it. So here, let me get this out. And can you see how nice that patina looks, front and back? But you can see there's a little bit of variation and stuff. It's just a little bit softer. So let's look at the silver black here, or in this case, black max. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put my paper towel down here. I'm working in my little plastic trays. I still have my gloves on. And I'm going to go ahead, it's getting, that liver of sulfur is making it a little close in here. So I'm going to take my own advice and open up my studio door so I've got some air going through. There we go. That's a little bit better. So let's take a look at the black max or the silver black. I have some like long cotton swabs from the medical supply, but you can use a brush. I don't like using brushes because it's kind of done, right? The brushes, the silver black, it doesn't, it's hard to rinse out and stuff. So, but little cotton swabs are great. You can also pour a little bit into a cup and use it that way. But you can see, let me get right down on there. Can you see how when I apply it, and I dip it frequently and rinse, and see how when I dip it, kind of missed it, but I'll show you again. The neutralizing action of the baking soda, really, you can see it when I dip it in there, it bubbles up. So can you see now how I'm just wiping this off and see how some of the patina is removing? That happens a lot with silver black on copper, right? So what I want to do is I want to use kind of a really light hand when I'm putting it on. So let me put another like layer, right? I'll put it on and then I'll come in and I'll dip it almost immediately, okay? I don't let it sit in there, and see how that's much better of a patina there. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get some more in here, put it on, dip it in my water there. So with the, and you could pour this out into a little, you know, container that you would throw away later. You can also dilute it. I put this in my water bath. You can also dilute it with a little bit of water. Sometimes straight out of the bottle is a little too much. And see that there, how it's giving me a nice patina. Oh, that's a really great tip. Here, I dip my brushes in the baking soda after applying the silver black, and the brushes lasted a long while, but it's a plastic brush without any metal. That's very clever. Great, great tip. So see how you kind of have to dip. Now I'm going to rinse again in just plain water. And I'll come in one last time with one more coat here. The water from where I just rinsed it is sitting on the surface, so it's helping to kind of dilute the silver black that I'm putting on it. Okay, and we'll go ahead and rinse. And we'll put these both into the rinse water there. I'm going to get some fresh. I'm going to also rinse my hands. I'm going to put the lid back on the silver black. Do not let the silver black lid go missing, because if you're like me, you'll just accidentally tip it over and no one will be happy there. Okay, so you can see, get this out of the way. I need to get this muslin buff out of the way. There we go. So here, let me lift my camera a little bit. Let me wipe this off. So now, if these were pieces that I, you know, finished jewelry pieces or whatever, and you can see how the silver black, it's not quite as stable of a patina on the copper as the liver of sulfur. That liver of sulfur really, really darkens, right? So now if I just threw these into my stainless steel shot, right, and tumbled them, the pieces would get shiny, but no patina would come off, right? Because again, this is a burnishing medium, not an abrasive. So if I wanted, I could do this by hand, take some of this off by hand. But what I do at this point is I'll throw it in my hone and highlight. Okay, and then the hone and highlight, I don't know, tumble it, check it after a half hour, see how dark you want the piece, then check it after the hour, maybe even an hour and a half, whatever works for you. Okay, and then once the patina has been removed, I'll go ahead and I will burnish it in the burnishing medium. Okay, yeah, and this will give it a nice gunmetal finish. Exactly. If you just, I take a little bit of it off, even if I'm just going to burnish it and keep a heavy patina on there, and then throw it in the stainless steel shot, and it'll give you a nice kind of shiny dark finish, which is great, which I love a lot. Let me put these down there. Get this out of the way, and then you can seal your pieces. Let me, I have a pro polish pad here, so you can kind of see if I were polishing these up. You need some kind of abrasive, and sometimes just a hand polish is what you want. You don't have to throw these back into the tumbler. But if I'm doing, a whole bunch of things, if I'm in production, polishing things by hand like this, the profits are ticking away every minute that I'm hand polishing. Okay, and then here's this one here. Plus the liver of sulfur, I really put a lot on here, right? So with just this little pro polish pad that I'm using, it's not really taking as much of the patina. I need a little more of a aggressive abrasive for this, but it's really pretty. You can see how nicely it brings up the pattern in there. So two last things, let me see if I have them here, that I use, and I'll do this, I'm not wearing them today, but you've seen me wear, I'm really into kind of making these coin rings lately, right? And so the coin rings are made with like copper and brass coins and stuff, right? And so when they're next to your skin, you want to have some kind of barrier between your skin and the, let me solo this one. I should have done that a while ago. You want some kind of sealant for your metal. Now, this I've bought at the hardware store. I've also mail ordered it. It's the Americana acrylic sealer for metal, and it's matte. I like it a lot. I use this a lot. I also use Protect-A-Clear, and I'm trying to see, I was using it the other day. I think I put it away. Where is my Protect-A-Clear? I use it, it comes in a little can, and I dip my pieces in, and then I just hang them up to dry. Protect-A-Clear is an indestructible surface. I use those on my coin rings, and I really like them. I have been experimenting with it, and the ones that I've dipped, I've been wearing them and washing my hands and doing all kinds of stuff. And the Protect-A-Clear really is a barrier that is not going to kind of go away. But it's the dip, the Protect-A-Clear that I've dipped, that really works well. I'm sorry, I thought I had it right here, but I think I have it actually in the other room. But you can Google the Protect-A-Clear. I like it a lot. Essentially, I just keep it in the little tin, and I put my piece suspended on a piece of wire, and I have everything all laid out, and I have a little rack that I just, after I dip it, I let it kind of drip for a few minutes, and then I hang it up on the little rack. And you want to be careful because the protector clear will dry and it will kind of attach itself to the wire that you've dipped in, right? So you want to just make sure that you're kind of moving the piece around and watching for drips and stuff like that. But it's a really great sealant. I like it a lot. These I use the spray a lot on my cuffs and on my charms and stuff like that that are copper. And I like this a lot. And you can find this online. I also have used the Krylon brand. There's some other acrylic sealants that I like a lot. But in between drying and spraying, I do it about 3 times. And it's a nice finish, and it stays on there pretty well. So that's it. I think we have covered here's the protector clear. It's right back here. I missed it. Let me show you what the jar looks like. Okay. It's this one here. And again, you want to really use both of these in a well ventilated area. And you don't want you want to keep this away from inquiring minds, right? But it's really great. And yeah, someone asked, Valerie's asking, can I show you how to use Protect Clear in a future tutorial? You bet. I would be glad to do that. It's really, I think it's really wonderful. But again, you can find it, you can go right to their website, it looks like. But I'll be glad to do that. Let me open. It's probably kind of tight on here. Every time I use it, I have to pry it open a little bit, like this, and I have to, and then I'll open it up. Yeah, the odor is, it's something you really do have to use in that well ventilated area. But I found that my pieces don't have any lingering issue with after I've dipped it. I let them sit 24 hours, and it's really great. It's super durable. I love it. So you can also, I have a toaster oven. You can also bake your pieces on low at like 200, 150, something like that, to kind of speed up the drying time also as well. So it's a great sealant. I like it a lot. Okay. So I hope you guys that was helpful. Let me get me back here. So I think that brings this kind of crazy tutorial to an end with the pendant. I'll eventually finish this when I don't have holiday orders that I have to get going. But we're gonna start up something new next. I don't know what that's gonna be quite yet, but if you are a part or you have not been a part yet and you'd like to join me over there, you can find me in some different places on my Instagram, on my Facebook page, Create with Kate Richburg, and of course, right here you can subscribe to the YouTube channel that has all of my tutorials on it. If you're not a part of my group, Create with Kate Richburg, it's a great place to drop questions, and if you have some ideas for a future tutorial that you'd like to see, like this one with Protect-A-Clear, that's a great suggestion, so I'll put that on the docket. I want to make sure that I'm doing it on a really nice day because I'll probably do it outside, so you guys can see all of the ins and outs with that. But do jump over to Facebook if you're a user, and you can find me right over there under Create with Kate Richburg, that group there. Okay, that's my story, you guys. I'm sticking to it. You can find me, of course, also during the week on the beadshop.com YouTube channel and Facebook page, where we work with all things beads and wire. So you can jump over to beadshop.com and go to the YouTube channel and give us a follow over there as well. So I'll cover all of your bases. So that's it. Our friend, the Concho, is mostly done. Yeah, that's all I got for you today. So thanks so much, as always, for joining me. I will not be on next week, but I will be back. I will schedule it. Let me look here on the calendar. I will schedule it. I'll be back the next week. Next week is the 5th. I'll be back, I think, around the 13th of December with some new tutorial ideas. I'll put it up on all the social, and I'll schedule it over there on the YouTube as well, so you can figure out what it is we're going to do. But again, if there's something you want to see, let me know and we'll work on it. All right. Thanks so much. Happy post-Thanksgiving. Hope you had a fantastic one. Stay safe and healthy, everybody. And I'll see you on the weekday broadcasts over on the beadshop.com YouTube channel. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.